welcome back to another video. If you guys don't already know, my name is Souad and I teach you guys how to wholesale real estate. Now, everyone always asks me about my backend system. Like, why are you able to scale and grow and be so hands-off and automations and all this? Well, my backend system was my backend system. It was private. I really didn't talk about it much because it was our little secret. But now we partnered up with Podio to be able to offer you the exact same thing that I have. And it's the ultimate deal maker CRM. Now, this isn't just a regular CRM. This is something that gives you public data on properties, runs comps for you, sends out contracts, multiple contracts, handles your dispo, creates email campaigns. It is insane. And it's so much to talk about, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. This is going to be kind of like a demo call showing you exactly what it has to offer, all the really cool features, and I'd love to get your feedback in the comments below. So check it out, wholesalediscord.com/CRM.
Thank you. Telling you the CRM is being built. It's going to notify you once it's ready for you, and it's going to let you know that we're going to be reaching out for boarding. Boarding for the CRM, the system is really self-boarding. The boarding is not necessarily anything complicated. It's something that anyone can do, but we find it necessary to still step in and make sure you guys did all the right things before, so you're not confused. So this is more or less what you will see. Of course, it'll have your logo, all your information. And right off the bat, we like to keep our KPIs very much in front of us, right? As you should. So what you see here, deals, seller leads, offers, walkthrough, these are all apps. And these are all your apps up here. You'll see them at the top, right? And there's more down here. Like I said, all these apps play well with each other. It's one happy ecosystem that sort of backs one another. And it very much follows any given transaction, right? So you're gonna board, you're gonna build your team, then you're gonna go after sellers. As some of you guys know, we're doing 500 leads per month for 12 months for the first 500 subscribers. So that number is coming. It's moving every day. So I don't know when we'll hit 500, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be faster than we thought. At any rate, your seller leads will be here every month, first of the month. So you'll have them ready to call, drip, text, whatever you want. And as those seller leads become deals, you're going to move into your deals app. You're going to make them offers. You're going to set up walkthroughs. This might be a joint venture, may not, but eventually you're going to get that deal signed. So it's going to move to Dispo. And once you're in Dispo, you're going to need end buyers who are going to set up showings, who are going to make you offers, which you're going to close. Got me? So like everything on the first row works literally the same way a wholesale transaction would work. And that's the overall idea here. You have a mobile office that can help you literally handle every aspect of a transaction. So I'm not going to get into boarding today. There is a video that I can send you guys after this, and you can watch it at your own leisure. What I want to do is get into sellers and deals, right? These two right here. So the first one is sellers. And like I said before, your KPIs for sellers are here. This updates automatically. It's not something that you have to type in or anything like that. So all this will be automatically updated for you. Let's get started. So this is your sellers app. All of our CRMs look the same. If there's any features that we change in ours, will be automatically changing yours. So no worries about not getting the same product. To your left, you're always going to see this little scroll bar, right? This bar has a lot of resources. It has a basic explanation of the app, and it has some links down here that you can use. Part of your pre-boarding, so before you even got your CRM, right, you got instructions on how to sign up on our website. The reason you want to sign up on our site is because we have password protected pages there that are a full-blown guide. So as you see, I got to put in my password. And you'll be prone to this. Let me make this a little bigger. So there is a page with a video tutorial and step-by-step guides. the point of that is to really get people's attention, right? So here's your video. So you right, it's actually a copy of we added some of a live demo we did. So you'll be able to not only see the video, but you'll see some of the questions that other people like yourselves asked. And as you scroll down, you'll be able to see, I mean, literally step by step, every single detail about every single app, right? And that goes on for everything. So, and that's always here, by the way. Once you create an account on our website, you're always going to be able to access this. This is right on our site. You go here, guides, right here. And you'll always be able to get to this point, right? And here are every single guide you will need for every single app. So anyone that you click, it'll take you right to that guide with its video and instructions. So again, those are here to your left, basically always in every single app. There's also help tickets. If you run into any issues, click here. You can send us a message. You can hit us up on WhatsApp. Every single client we have has a segregated WhatsApp chat. If you don't have WhatsApp, we can accommodate via text message and so on. And we also have a group WhatsApp where not just your questions, but everybody else's questions will be at which point you can obviously learn from others. So that's always here. What you're going to see to your left is your views, right? Your views are the same thing as like a filter. Not sure if you guys have ever used Podio, but it allows you to filter things out, right? So I can see just my active deals. I can see what I moved to deals, what's called, and then as leads come in, right? If you got absentee, free and clear, whatever the case may be, it's all organized for you on the side. So let's get into one of these. Let's go with Frankie. So Frankie Seller, right? Now, the data that comes into this app comes from different sources, right? If you guys have a website and a funnel, then you can link the app directly to your website. So you can, in fact, the CRM comes with web forms. So you can literally take the web forms from here, plug them onto your site, and suddenly your site and your CRM are talking directly, which is a huge part of this. That goes for sellers, cash buyers. And as you move on, people can set up showings through your website. People can make you offers through your website. So it's part of the entire mobility aspect of this, and very much something that we practice and we do ourselves. So this is your app. So needless to say, a lot of this information will have come from those funnels, right? You can ask all these questions that are going to be filled out for you. If they didn't, if let's say you bought one of our lists, or you're just calling the lists we gave you, or you have your own sellers, right? Whatever the case may be, this is for the most part just drop down menus that you can just fill in. Now, here's when things get calling it great is probably an understatement, and I mean this because this is one of those moves that we made, not only in hopes to thrive with the CRM, of course, but to truly put forward something that can give you guys an edge. And that's this right here. So originally, any CRM you have, any app, anything like that, will just have a seller's database, right? Name, email, blah, blah, blah. We took it a step further. As some of you guys know, we own Wholesale Discord, and Wholesale Discord started as a leads company and it evolved to a virtual callers company. So now we're both. But we took a lot of the principles from Discord and applied them to our CRM. In other words, we wanted to make the CRM exactly like something that any VA, including ours, of course, but any VA or yourself can step in and understand the process of actually attaining a seller lead, and what actually a lead is, right? Like how to convert, what exactly do you do? So we went ahead and included this little part right here. Let me start with this, right? This is your pillars of prospecting. So these are like the 4 little secrets that no one tells you about when you're calling a seller. The little things that if you do know what they are, this is potentially a lead. If you don't know whether or not what they are, you're just wasting your time, right? So they're right here. How long do you need to sell? And again, these items can be placed on your website, so it's not something that you even have to ask. Like these are things that the sellers will send in right into your system. Condition, cost, how soon do they want to move, and motivation, right? So there they are. And then we get into well, this is mostly for your VA. This sets up appointments for you. If the seller wants to make an appointment, you simply click it here, and now you'll be able to see it on your calendar, which we'll get into later. But this portion right here is what I'm referring to, right? So we took a lot of the knowledge that we've gained through building a successful team of virtual callers, um, and through trial and error, we've designed our own methods, right? And we decided to take those methods and pour them in here. So what you're seeing in here is very much like what a VA, a well-trained VA, will use to dissect information from a seller, right? It's not just how many bedrooms and how many bathrooms, right? Like that's not getting a lead. So you'll see all these questions here, and ideally, like I said, it's customized for a VA to be able to jump on it if needed. But if you don't have a VA, this is something that you can literally sit in your car and read off while you talk to a seller. So top up part this part up here, first floor, second floor, this top section, it's what we call a visual walkthrough, right? You're talking to a seller about their property, and you get to find out details that they wouldn't necessarily tell you otherwise. Little trade secret, but it works very well, and it's the top portion of this. And then you move on to your actual probing questions, right? From the obvious, right? The bedroom and the bathroom, to reiterating condition, to repairs done, improvements, length of ownership, occupancy. And we give you explanations as to the reasoning behind each and every one of these questions. Again, if you're not into calling sellers, which I'm not, I know Souad's not necessarily great, but we're great at building virtual callers, or guiding people to call and get the right information. So this is it. One cool little feature of, I mean, a lot of cool little features here, but one that stands out the most is if you guys are doing, not exactly sure where you guys are from, but if you're doing subject to deals, the CRM has the ability to include extra scripting. So it happens often to us. You're talking to a seller, and the seller has more than one property, or perhaps they already got rid of the one you're calling on, but they're sitting on something else, and it's not a house, and you don't know how to continue the conversation, right? So what we did is we added scripts, and you have land, commercial, and subject to. So what the system will do is the minute you pick one of those, it'll add additional questions for, again, you or your VA to ask, right? In this example, we're talking about land. There are land is very profitable, by the way, and it's extremely simple to wholesale. There is no house, there is no walkthrough, just drive-throughs. So it's quite beneficial, especially if you're doing virtual wholesaling. So being able to ask the right questions to a seller is, needless to say, extremely important for the process. And this allows you to do exactly that, right? So if you're dealing with a commercial property, same scenario. What do I ask? This guy is sitting on a warehouse, right? And I really don't know what to say. Well, it's all here. So from tenant mix to occupancy rate to the NOI. So really cool feature. And needless to say, if you don't need it, you don't need it. You have the entire residential script up here. So, as your VA, if you have one, can add notes to this. When notes are added, you're updated automatically on what's happening with this particular lead. So as we move on, I'm gonna walk you guys through the drip campaign. So once you have a seller here, two things will happen, right? Just like in real life, either they're a real seller or they're not, right? They're somebody whose house you can buy fairly quickly, or somebody who maybe at a later date will become a client, will become a seller. So we have a drip campaign set up here. The drip will send emails, depending on, of course, emails and SMS, depending on how long you set up your sequence for, right? So we have set it up for 90 days, 180 days, or an entire year. So we really wanted to simplify this whole drip campaign thing. People think it's like some extremely complex process, and we broke it down to basically like 5 steps. And let me just go through them. Whomever your acquisitions manager is, if it's you starting up, eventually it's a role that you're gonna outsource. You're gonna bring somebody in to to lock up deals for you, as well as somebody to sell deals for you. But at any rate, I added myself as the acquisitions manager. I select a date when I want my drip to start, and I want it for only 90 days, right? Everyone has different theories as to how long you should have it for. At that point, you simply load your sequence, and all this information is being communicated to you by the way here on the right. So um, my sequence gets Jesus, my sequence gets loaded, and you simply activate it with this button. And depending on how many sellers you have in the app, it'll come out at different times. But as of right now, this particular seller is going to be getting emails from you for the next, again, 90 days, 180 days, or 360 days. We don't charge per email. One big portion of this, we don't charge per, I mean, text messages, you're going to have, you have the choice to send them or not. Um, but we don't charge per email, and there's no limit per se on how many emails you can send. Just the overall system is set up to send 1,000 emails per day max. So, and you simply just turn on your campaign and people start getting emails. Sorry, I was playing with this before, so I have a lot of these fields filled out. Um, let me go through this too. So this is an example of the email drip. Once it's loaded, the system's gonna tell you when, the date, and what email is gonna go out, right? All kinds of different topics, and it'll continue on until it's supposed to. Okay. So now what we just did is for that seller that may or may not become something, but very often, especially if you're using a VA or you're actively calling sellers, you're gonna get a potential deal, right? You don't know for sure if it's a deal, if it's gonna happen, but you know this person's motivated. You've gone through your questions, your questionnaire. You've gone through your pillars of prospect, and so it feels like this might actually become a deal, right? So all you do from that point is you move this seller to your deals app. Separation between those two, of course, not every seller is a deal, not every deal is a seller. And being able to draw the line between those two is important. So move them to deals, and you can see him here, showed up, and he's now in our deals app. Now this is gonna load depending on a lot of things, Podio server, depending on how much data you have in your CRM. Things will take a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but this is starting to load. And as this loads, you'll see a lot of this information of what's happening within the CRM being updated for you up here, right? So that's the case throughout the entire system. So you know what the system is doing. It's loading the app, right? Your corporate information was added, and we see it right here. There's my LLC. We'll get into that as well, but we have a place to put our LLCs. It's loaded our logos, it's loaded our information. There's a picture of the house. My team in this case, Rain is my VA. This is my core team. We'll get into, watch the boarding video. You'll understand the difference between a core team and third-party providers. There's my seller, Frankie Seller, and he's hot. And if you need more sellers, you're dealing with more than 2 sellers, you can add them here. If you click 1 more seller, 2 more sellers, and so on, more spaces will show up. That being said, just food for thought and experience. You're dealing with a state, or you're dealing with multiple sellers. You really want to just segregate it to 1 or 2 sellers. Usually 1 or 2 decision makers at most. At any rate, all the information is here, and you can see Frankie Seller is a tired landlord. He wants to move in or sell, close in 30 days. The condition of the property is poor, and he's looking for around 200,000. All right. So now the next obvious step is, well, let's figure out what this thing is worth, right? Is it worth the 200,000? So we go here and we press this little button. get data and values. All right. Once you press this, the system starts figuring all this stuff out and it starts to load up. Now that's this section right here. This is where you comp. This is where specific data about the property is going to come up, taxes, like I said, comparables, description, land parcel information, distress. We have a section for distress, and ultimately living scores. So let me start from the top. The system found this description of the property. It was on the internet at some point, right? Within the last 5 years. The system found all this information, the county, the type of property, year built, square footage, lot size, and so on. It also told us that it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, has no basement, no garage, no heating and cooling. Not sure what that's about. And it gave us comps, right? It gave us, the system's always going to give you 5 comps. It's going to be the 5 most relevant comps. And just like any realtor, just like any investor, we do it by proximity. So these are all within the system first looks for within a mile. If there's nothing within a mile, it'll expand out all the way out to 5 miles if needed. It will always look for like. So these are all properties that fit the same overall criteria. And it'll look for properties that have closed within the last, usually the last 12 months. And if not, it'll expand out to the last 24 months. Okay. So I got and it gets categorized in sort of importance order. So this is my best comp, right? First one. So it'll give you if these properties were listed on Zillow or any of those websites, you click here and it'll take you in this case to the Zillow listing. And now you have pictures, you have everything you need. Right. The idea is for you to be able to really centralize your business. And this is a big part of it. So comp number 2, 647 Crescent, sold for 265. And there it is. Sold for 265, it's worth 341. And blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you guys get that part. It'll also give you Google Maps for them. You can click on them so you can do a street view. Right from it. It'll give you tax history, the last, usually the last 2-3 years of property taxes. Why is this important? Well, it helps you calculate cash flow if this is a potential BRRRR type of deal, or something that you may want to keep. But it also lets you see if there were spikes in taxes, right? A lot of people lose their homes because of taxes. Taxes are too expensive, they're too high, they can't keep up. And you can see those spikes here. Distress, it tells you if the property, oh, Jesus. Sorry, guys. Thank you. All right. The distress section, it tells you if the property is listed in an auction website. It tells you if it has been foreclosed. Or I'm sorry, if it's in foreclosure, or as an REO, if it has been foreclosed. And lastly, it tells you if it's listed on FSBO.com or any other for sale by owner websites out there. All important reasons, right? When a property is listed for an auction, sellers are extremely motivated because they know 2 to 4 weeks from now, they're on the chopping block. They're in foreclosure, that's an obvious. If it's an REO, a lot of banks are taking houses back, so they go through the foreclosure and they work out agreements with sellers to stay in the houses for a particular amount of time, usually 3 to 6 months after the closing. So you don't want to waste your time if these people already lost the house to the bank, right? In FSBO, well, you want to know if they're marketing it somewhere else, if they're working out a different type of deal, and how much they're asking for it, right? They might be asking you more than what they're asking on FSBO.com. Living scores, pretty straightforward. How walkable, how bike, walking, and transit. Relevant if you're dealing with like higher end areas. There are some sections in town that nobody wants to go in, but the town is overall a good town. So Um, right. So before I continue, I need some water. All right. So fun stuff so far. Now we're gonna get into the math, into the fun part. And this is I mean, comping properties and being able to get data is incredibly useful. But it means nothing until you take action, right? So the next section is where you actually figure out how much you should pay um, for any given property, how much you're going to make, how much your even how much your end buyer, your user is going to make if you get this deal a certain way. So let's get to it. So in this case, again, if you use sellers, then this some of this information will already be here for you. Um, we didn't, it's not. So in this case, let's say the property is occupied, right? Like the guy lives there, owner occupied. And let's say based on the conversation, or maybe based on the comps that you saw, the pictures, perhaps the Zillow link, whatever the case may be, or maybe the seller himself told you that the property is in good condition, right? We already know the square footage, units, sort of relevant, single family stories too. Flood zone, I give you a little guidance here on flood zones, but I also added this link here so you can travel to FEMA maps right from here and figure out if the property's in a flood zone in a heartbeat. And of course, knowing that data is extremely important when you're making an offer, right? So if it is in a flood zone, it will reflect on the offer you're making. It'll give it a discount because it's in a flood zone. In this case, let's say no. Is it listed with a realtor? Let's say no. And the best exit that you can imagine on this, well, it's basic fix and flip, right? Multiple exits, but fix and flip is the one that you're going to see 90% of the time. So the system already did all the needed math for us. In this particular case, we have a realtor value, comes from comps available, and it's saying that it's roughly 290. We have a Zillow value, a little bit higher. It usually is a little bit higher than the realtor. We have a rental value. This is in order for us to figure out the DSCR ratio of it. So if it is a potential rental, if it is, what kind of cash flow you or your end buyer can make, right? So super important data that frankly used to take us hours to just figure out, just to be able to present it. So, and then it gets to even the juicier stuff, right? So we have a suggested as is value. Now, this as is value is obviously subject to the amount of work the property needs. The more work the property needs, the less it's worth, right? So makes perfect sense. So the system believes it's worth 251,000. So if you were to buy the property at a fair market, at an as is value, the way it is, this is the number that they should be asking for and you should be paying. But then again, you're not buying as is deals. You're buying for future resale. You're buying on ARV. So it moves on to give you a potential ARV, a max ARV. So what the system is saying is, let me continue. It also gave you a rehab budget of 23,000, right? And this is based on this guy telling us that it's in good condition. If let's say this thing was in fair condition, and generally speaking, guys, and you'll learn this as it goes, but whatever they tell you, it's worse, right? So in this case, let's say it's fair. So my numbers changed, right? Now my rehab budget is 46,000. My as is value dropped because I shouldn't be, if it needs more work, I'm not gonna pay the same, right? So that dropped. And I'm ready to price it out. So let's go back to, let's say this guy said it was in excellent condition. The property needed little to nothing. And it happens. There are people that just have pretty houses, keep them nice. So in that case, it's telling me that the rehab budget for it is only 10,000. The wholesale fee. The wholesale fee is based on a bunch of different metrics, but it very much takes into account anywhere, and depending on the house, depending on the area, anywhere between 4% all the way to around 8% of the resale price, right? Now, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is everything that I'm telling you as of right now is simply a suggestion. This is us telling you, if we were doing this deal, if we were pricing this deal, these are the numbers that we would come up with, right? But it's not our deal, it's your deal. So the next portion of this allows you to sort of get into the driver's seat and take control. So let's just recap. Um, in this particular deal, the system believes the max we can get, if we do little work, which I think it's probably you probably need a little more work, but the max we're gonna get is around 350,000. Your wholesale fee will be 21,000 in that scenario, and your suggested offer. So therefore, the suggested offer that we put on the table is 234,000. So you should not pay more than 234,000 based on this. Now, the next section is where you start dabbling into the investment side of this, right? Everything we've given you is data. Everything we've given you has allowed you to get to this point. But now you're in charge. So you know the area better than me. My system says 353. You may think that's a little high, it's a little ambitious. You want to cap it off at, let's say, 339, right? 339, 950. We believe the rehab is 9,200. You think that's also a little ambitious, but you know you can get it done with maybe around 15, let's say 20,000, right? And given the complexity of the deal, you want to make a little bit more than 21,000, right? This is a tough area, a very desired neighborhood for investors, whatever the case may be. Let's say you want to clock 30,000 on. Additional liens, as you grow in the business, you'll find more resources to find debt that people have. Not everyone has it, but if you do come across it, if you happen to know that they're in foreclosure, you happen to know they haven't paid their taxes, there might be liens in there, there might not. So for the purposes of this, let's leave it at 0. And that's it. You take this bar, step 5. And as you guys know by now, and I mean, hopefully you know it. If not, you'll very much learn it with this. There are metrics to this game, metrics that allow you to stay in a safe area, in a profitable area, where you can take a deal and resell it, right? Without that margin, you're not safe, and your end buyer is never coming back to you because you just sold them a bag of doo-doo. So there it is, all done. In this particular case, I'm pushing to 74%, right? 75% is your max. This is 75% of the ARV, of the future value. Best deals for your end buyer are really made at the 70% bracket. In the lamest terms, the lower you go on this, the better the deal is, right? That's why we call it a risk bar. The higher you go on it, the riskier and crappier this deal is. So for the purposes of this, we're going to keep it at 70%. We can always go up, but let's just start at 70. So this is what it gives you. Your maximum allowed offer, your MAU, is 187,000, right? So do not pay more than 187,000. The profitability breakdown gives you with a purchase of 187,000, you make $30,000 in wholesale fees. The rehab gross profit, so your end buyer, the person that you're going to sell this deal to, is in line to making 78 grand. Now, gross profits, if they finance it, whatever methods they do, whatever partnerships they have, that's irrelevant to you. This deal makes roughly $80,000 to that person. Those experienced investors will know what our break even is. If you give them a break even, now they know, especially if they're working with cash, they know where their threshold is, right? Like where they have to stop spending money. So super important information that now you can carry to your end buyer. And when you're putting a deal together, you're not just asking for, you know, your number. You're giving them data. And it goes on. So secondly, and unbeknownst to most people, right, a cash buyer is not a cash buyer. It's a fallacy. Most cash buyers across the US borrow from hard money lenders, and that's the reality. In my experience, roughly 90% of all quote unquote cash buyers, the people that are going to be coming knocking on your door for your deals, the people that are going to replying to your email blast and your dispo blasts, might be telling you they're buying cash, but there's only a 10% chance that they're actually doing it. What they're actually doing it is they're locking up your deal, and then they're taking that contract and they're going to a hard money lender, they're getting a loan for it, and they're paying for it. And part of those proceeds is your wholesale fee, right? So that's 90% of the times how it works. So given that, we created this little section right here, which is really just a funding protocol for it, where you can actually tell your end buyer for when you go get financing, you can probably get this deal with 20% down, and this is how much your deposit will be, and this is how much your monthly payments will be. Right. So that's what this is. Experienced borrowers will put 15% down, 20% down is for your average borrower, average investor. 25% down is for the ones just starting first deal or bad credit, right? In this case, let's just go with an average. So 20% down. Your investor will have the loan amount. They'll have to get a loan for 170 grand. Their down payment will be 37,000. Their monthly payment will be 1,400, and their origination points they'll have to pay are roughly 3,400. Right. So when you're bringing a deal to someone, you're not just bringing them a deal, you're bringing them data, you're bringing them information that's going to allow them to move faster and therefore close your deal faster, and therefore you get paid faster. All right. So that's what's here. And then the third part of this is the BRRRR section. So not every investor that you meet that comes to you is going to be a house flipper. And even some of them are also landlords. In fact, there are a ton of landlords out there now more than ever, right? Money is extremely easy for landlording. Wall Street came into the game about 5 years ago, and it really just redefined the way rentals are financed, right? So we're captivating that, and we're benefiting from it, because now we can not just sell wholesale houses to fix and flippers or builders, but we can also sell to landlords, and landlords is a massive world, and generally speaking, better funded than house flippers. Okay, so when you're talking to one of those landlords, now you can give them a BRRRR scenario. This is what they're looking at if they were to go get a BRRRR loan, or just a BRRRR loan, I guess, for your deal. Their deposit, their monthly payments, their potential cash out, right? Like once they're done with the project, how much money they can pull out, and their cash flow. What type of cash flow they'll be bringing in if they buy your deal. I mean, this is crucial data that you can now openly and confidently share with one of your buyers when negotiating a price, right? And furthermore, stuff that you know in the process of locking up a deal, you know what's going to happen if you get this deal. You know what's going to happen 5 steps down the road, and that's one of the key portions of just overall just running an efficient business, right? Is really just knowing your business in and out, and knowing how to sell value. You're not just selling a deal, you're selling a full package. So deal looks good. Deal looks good. Numbers look good. This is something that you want to push forward on. And another little insider tip, whomever showed you guys how to wholesale, or if you guys are watching Souad's videos, know that there is one intricate piece that we practice, and obviously we are not presenting it to the world. But I don't want to call it a trade secret, because there's no secret on it. It's just simply a method of doing business, right? Like that, this is just how we do business, and this is what works for us. What's always worked for us, after dealing with sellers, is as simple as this sounds, is it's making an offer, right? Like the conversation can go in multiple ways. But those that end the conversation with paper in hand, with an actual offer, get more attention than those that just babbled on the phone for a half hour. That's my take, and that's what's worked for us. So now we put it out. So we decided to incorporate it in our system and make it as efficient as it is for us. So again, 5 little steps, very simple stuff. Pick your closing date. Let's say we want to close by the 31st this month. Your offer, super cool. So we have 5 different types of contracts. 4 contracts, 1 LOI. Let me start with the LOI, letter of intent. If you don't know what that is, it's a basic 2-page write-up that you send to a seller, stating the basic terms of the transaction. It is not bindable. It is not a contract. It is simply you saying, I want to buy your house, in a more formal way. And that comes in handy whenever you're dealing with a seller who tells you, I don't want to see an offer, which will happen. Most will tell you, sure, send me an offer, make me an offer, make me an offer. What's your offer? Well, now you can not just spit it out, but you can put paper behind it. But for those that don't, or for those that you're going to deal with some elderly people as well, sending them a package of like 10 different pages, it's not going to work out, but sending them a quick breakdown with 2 pages will. So in case you need it, it's there. Now, the most common contract you're going to use, and by the way, every single contract we have here has every protection necessary. There are, well, your first is your basic residential purchase and sales agreement, which obviously has all the verbiage for being able to assign the property later. And it works for pretty much every single residential property. If you come across land, as some of you guys, as I mentioned before, it happens more often than not, you have a land specific contract, again, with all the protections you need. Same thing with subject to. If you happen to land a subject to deal, you got the contract to back it. And last, and probably the most important one for a lot of the US really right now is seller financing. If that's the route you want to go, whether you're actually aiming to get seller financing or you just happen to talk to someone who has a lot of equity, your contract is here and it's ready and you can set terms right now and get your seller financing moving. So, and lastly is your LOI, which I already explained. So you have multiple contracts depending on your situation. So let's just base it on a regular standard residential purchase and sales agreement. Your title company, title companies are important. If you don't have one, I suggest you pick up the phone and call one up. There's no fee for starting a relationship with a title company. But they come extremely handy. They're going to hold your deposits when you buy something. They're going to hold your end buyers non-refundable deposits when they're buying something from you. They're the settlement agents. So they're the people that literally bring all the parties into one place and cut all the checks, right? So you want to have whatever town, whatever city you're doing business in, make sure you reach out to a title company, get their information, and make sure you let them know that you're a new investor and you're going to be sending them business and to expect to hear from you. Right, so that's that. Mine is Lucy Daniels. Lucy Daniels, title agent. I selected her, and next is your LLC. If you don't have an LLC, it's perfectly fine. You can make the contract under your own name. As you evolve in the business, though, an LLC is not just an expense that you pay like once a year. It comes with a lot of protections, a lot of different benefits, including building credit on that LLC, which is another part of finance and raising capital for your business. So anyway, so you pick your LLC and you have different LLCs for different strategies. And that's really it. So pick a date, pick a contract, pick your title company, pick an LLC, and you generate. So the system is now putting together a pre-written offer. So here it is. You guys can see it. I'm going to go to it. And now I'm on a third app. Now I'm in the offers out. There's offers out that you're making, and there are offers in that you're getting. All right, so those are two separate types of offers. So right now we're still in acquisitions. We haven't bought anything, so there's nothing for you to sell. So this is your offers, and as you can see, most of the fields are already filled out for you. Right. The idea is you review again, make sure that everything is properly situated. How are you buying this? Generally hard money. Extra protections that we have here, and these are more of really just negotiation tactics. The first one's closing fees. So who's paying for the closing costs, right? Are you paying the seller's closing costs? Are they paying yours? Are they paying their own? All those options are here. And needless to say, if you're paying the seller's closing cost, that's leverage that you create, right? So like if you're paying for closing costs, then maybe you're getting a discount on the purchase. And it goes on. The delivery, is the seller gonna give you the property vacant? Is it tenants? Does he want to stay there? These are all factors that formulate a final number, right? So they're all here. And ultimately is the debris. So are you taking the property with all the crap it has in it? Are they gonna clean it out before you take it? Regardless of the case, you can pick it. So in this case, let's say we're gonna pay for the seller's closing costs. They're gonna give us a property vacant, and they're gonna leave all their crap in it. All right, so that's all there. Additional provisions, and these last are just like, to me, a little redundant at times, but maybe necessary. I keep the right to do an oil sweep. I keep the right to do a septic tank inspection, and appliances may or may not be included in the sale, right? In the lamest terms, and I don't know if you guys deal with oil tanks on the ground. I don't know if you have septic tanks, but if you do, this gives you the right to do an inspection on that. And if you're not happy with the outcome, it's another exit from the deal, right? Like the idea here, the overall idea here is that you're making an offer of which you can literally get out of at any time, which although might be binding in a sense, it has enough clauses in it to basically allow you to step off the deal for any given reason at any given time. Now, that any given reason at any given time is usually because you have not been able to find an end buyer, right? That's usually the case. So, or you found an end buyer, but they can't close for another 2-3 weeks. So you have enough protections in there to be able to pull out of the deal if you need it. So let's say I want to do an oil inspection. Why not? Septic. And that's it. And that's really it. That's at this point, you're going to generate a PDF for you to review and go through. And there it is. Frankie seller selling us the property here, buyers, purchase price, exits, exits, and your contract goes on and on and on. One cool little feature, well, two. One, this is an e-signature type of contract. So in other words, just like not constant contact, whatever the hell. Like any other service, you send it out, the seller's gonna get an email. They're gonna open it, they can sign with their finger, send it back, and so on. So their signatures will be here. Your signature is always here. This is a trade secret. We have our signature embedded in every contract already. We don't want the back and forth of did you sign, did he sign, did we sign? Our contracts are always signed, and we're just waiting for you to sign. So that's what this is. The last page, not sure if you guys read it on the promotions, but due to our partnership with Arcade Capital, we include approval funds with every contract you make. It comes at no charge, and we're obviously not running your credit or anything like that. If you find a deal, then I'm sure you can come back to us and you'll be able to get financed or your end buyer, whatever the case. But for the purposes of making an offer, we know the value that approval funds has versus you making an offer without one. And because of that, we decided to take this step and really include it in every offer you make, to make sure that your offers are relevant and they're seen and they're considered. So there it is. And last trade secret, left blank for your notes on us, our company, and our offer. You guys will be amazed about how many times a seller that took your contract, printed it out, and went through it briefly, and got to the last page and started taking notes about you. Good things, bad things, mostly things about your conversation. I can almost guarantee you that the minute that happens, you have a deal. So the page is there. It's worked out beautifully for us. The more they can remember you, the more relevant you are, and the more consistent in their minds you become. So when the decision comes to actually sell, pull the trigger, sign that contract, you and your fancy e-signature with your fancy pre-approval and your well-written contract suddenly stick out like a sore thumb. And that's the idea. So that's your contract. Now, contract looks good. There is no issues with it. If there were, then just go back here and change them and then draft another draft. But let's assume there's no issues there. All we do is just hit here, send it out, and the contract is on its way to the seller. Now, at this point, the seller is going to get an email, of course, and they're going to get an SMS from you saying, Hey, so I thank you for talking to me. At this point, I'd like to formally make an offer to you, and here are my numbers. Here's my contact information as well, my email, my phone number. Review it, get back to me. When the seller signs, the system will automatically notify you of everything. And down here now you will see a fully executed PDF with all the information in it. So let me illustrate. Again, I can go to my guides. Wait. So this is again on our website. Register, you'll be able to get all this. But everything that I just told you is here, right? Step by step. And your contracts, what to pick, how to send, and this is assuming the seller signed, they'll sign right here. You get of course a copy of the contract with the signature and everything. You get a certificate of authenticity for that signature. Validating in case you deal with a seller, and it happens, in case you deal with a seller who says, oh, I didn't sign, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's there. It records their IP address and everything else, so it works very well. If you guys have been in the business, you know what a deal sheet is. If you don't, it's usually obvious, right? A breakdown of the transaction. It's usually what a title company will request from you when opening up escrow. When you start the process, you gotta send your title company saying, hey, I got a deal. I'm supposed to close on this day, but more than likely I'm gonna find an end buyer who's gonna come in and we'll do both closings at once, right? So this gets sent automatically for you to the title company. The same title company that you picked now suddenly gets an email saying, here's the contract, here's the signed contract, here's the validation, and here's the breakdown of the deal. Let's go. So the process starts. The seller, like I said, gets an SMS saying, we're on. I already went ahead and sent it to the title company. Here's a copy for you. And anything you need, just reach out. Your team gets workflows. The system has over 500 automation, so your team and everyone involved gets to know what's happening, right? So at this point, your team knows that a seller signed a contract and that they now have to start working on Dispo. And the system moves the deal automatically to your Dispo app, right? So you don't transfer anything. The system literally takes it from here, says, because it's been signed, let's move on to the next stage. And there are your PDFs and everything signed. So, needless to say, here is Dispo, and the purpose of Dispo is to sell it. Right now, you have a valid signed purchase agreement, and it's time to move the property. So, all the information you had transferred here. This is a nice little summary. People are going to ask you, well, you have a deal, how much, right? So like all that information is here.